What's going on, everybody? I'm back. Sorry I missed last week's video. I actually started my new full-time job last week, and I had training for pretty much all day. Couldn't get around to recording a video, but I'm here now, and we are going to go over another fantastic week of football. It was a good week for me. May have been a good week for your team. Let's get started with Thursday Night Football because it's going to be a real good one. So as you guys know, the last couple Thursday night games have been pretty lame. For example, the Commanders against the Bears. The last play of the game was exciting, but the most of the game wasn't. This one proves to be a little bit different. We have the Baltimore Ravens at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These are two teams that were supposed to be Super Bowl contenders that are kind of struggling to stay afloat here. And a lot can be said about both these teams. The Ravens squeaked by with a victory against the Browns. Lamar Jackson was only 9 of 16 for 120 yards, 80.2 passer rating. So again, another example of just Lamar having very, very average games after those last couple games early in the season where he was an MVP frontrunner. He's starting to really settle into what he really is now. Gus Edwards had a good game, though. He had 16 carries, 66 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So a lot of the Ravens' offense came from the running game, which is good. They managed to barely squeak by, like I said, with a win against Cleveland. They are 4-3 at the moment. They are hanging in there in the playoff hunt. A game like this is really going to help them. Now, a team that is almost in panic mode here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They got blown out by the general consensus worst team in the NFL, the Carolina Panthers. Tom Brady was 32 of 49, 290 yards, and an 81.2 passer rating. So, all this talk about Brady finally being washed and all this stuff and finally being over with, I mean, here's the thing. I see this as very similar to Brady's last year with the Patriots. If you guys remember the 2019 year with the Patriots, he had statistically one of his worst seasons. I think he only threw 24 touchdowns. They went out in the wild card. This is what happens when Brady has no help. A lot of times we're over-skewed by Tom Brady's accomplishments, like, again, when he won the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers in 2020, but people forget he was part of a stacked team. That team was stacked from top to bottom, on defense and offensive line, everything. He was just that last piece that brought everything together. But Brady's at an age now where, and he's been this way for a while, where if he doesn't have the team around him, then they can't, he can't overcome lackluster talent. And we're going to see it again with Aaron Rodgers because it's a very similar situation where he can't, like I said, he can't overcome an average team, but again, he's still throwing the ball 49 times. Physically, Brady can still go. He can still play. A 45-year-old guy throwing the ball 49 times. He can still play at a high level. He just doesn't have the team around him. What's going to happen in this game, though? I think the Ravens are going to win. I think that the Buccaneers are, when the Steelers beat the Buccaneers a couple weeks ago, we were like, wow, the Steelers had a great showing. I think it says more about the Buccaneers now, though, the more we look at it. So I think that the Ravens are going to win this one. Tampa Bay is going to fall to 3-5. If Brady misses the playoffs, it's got to be it for him. This has got to be the last season for him in general. But if he misses the playoffs, then it's it's got to be over. So next up, we got a London game. We got the Denver Broncos at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Two incredibly disappointing teams. So I don't have any stats for any of the Broncos players. They scored just 9 points, and they're 2-5. I don't know if Russell Wilson still isn't going to play, but the whole team, the Broncos have got to be one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL right now. They're falling apart. Honestly, this Nathaniel Hackett may be gone after one season because say what you want about Russell Wilson's struggles, and a lot of it we can see is on him, but Nathaniel Hackett is doing him no favors in terms of the play calling and all that stuff. So he might be gone even mid-season if they keep losing. It's getting bad. It's getting real bad for the Broncos. As for the Jaguars, they're still not doing very well either. They lost this week. Trevor Lawrence was 22 of 43, 310 yards, 74.8 passer rating. Travis Etienne had a pretty good game, though. 14 carries, 114 yards, and a touchdown. He averaged 8 yards a carry. So well, this is his second year, but he's basically a rookie because he was injured his first year. He's doing all right. Jaguars look like they have a lot of nice young talent, but they just haven't been able to put it together, really. So what's going to happen in this game, though? It's at London, the Jaguars' new home turf. I'm going to go with the Jaguars on this one. The Broncos, just their offense, they just can't score any points. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. And I don't think anything's going to change now. I think the Jaguars are going to win. And I think that it's not going to be close. All right, guys. So next up, we got the Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons. So, the Panthers beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it wasn't even close. They had a very good game. P.J. Walker was 16 of 22, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, 126 passer rating. Deonta Foreman, 15 carries, 118 yards. He averaged almost 8 yards a carry. I think that has more to do with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers completely collapsing, plus it being a divisional matchup. I still think the Panthers are the worst team in the league. I don't think that's changed. The Falcons, though, had a bad game against the Bengals. They had some pretty good plays. Like, they had that really long pass. But they got scorched by the Bengals. Marcus Mariota was 8 of 13, 124 yards and a touchdown, 118 passer rating. So, again, they're not letting him throw the ball very much. It seems like he goes between, 13 attempts to, 20. So they're not really letting him throw all that much, but I suppose that's no big deal. I mean, I don't think the Falcons are really going anywhere this season anyway. I do think they're going to win this game, though. They've actually done fairly decently so far. They're 3-4. So if they win this game, they'll be at 500. They're kind of in the same situation that the Commanders are. We'll get into that a little bit later. It's a 4 o'clock game, so it'll be one of the last ones I cover. But, yeah, I'm going to be going with the Falcons on that one. So next up, we have the Chicago Bears at the Dallas Cowboys. So anyone who saw Monday night has got to be pretty surprised with what the Bears accomplished. They scored 30 points against the Patriots defense, which pretty bizarre if you ask me. Justin Fields probably at his best game of the season. He was 13 of 21, 179 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But he also ran for 14 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. I think that when they utilize Justin Fields' elite athleticism like this, they'll go from being a bottom dweller to an average team. David Montgomery also did pretty well. He had 15 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown. So, again, 31 points. How about that? So, I don't know if this is a fluke win by the Bears or if they're going to really come back swinging. I don't think it's going to happen against the top Dallas Cowboys defense. Dak Prescott, on his first game back, he had a pretty good game. He was 19 of 25, 207 yards and a touchdown with 113 passer rating. So a nice comeback game there for Dak Prescott. Ezekiel Elliott had 15 carries for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Cowboys are still working on all cylinders. They are looking very, very good. I believe they're 5-2, and the Giants are 6-1, and the Eagles are 6-0. That whole division is insane. Like, we're 3-4 and we're still in last place. It's just, that's got to be the most competitive division that the NFL's seen in a long time. The NFC East is what people expected the AFC West to be, the Chiefs division. So it's pretty crazy to say the least. But in this game, I'm still going to be going with the Cowboys. I think the big situation with this is the Bears offense did really well against the Patriots defense, which is top 5 in the league. But are they going to be able to do it again against the Cowboys' elite defense? Because the Cowboys also have an elite defense. And the one thing that I think is going to work against the Bears is Justin Fields is an inexperienced quarterback. And an inexperienced young quarterback going against an elite defense is a recipe for disaster for the Bears. So I think the Cowboys are going to win this one. And I don't think it's going to be close. Next up, we got the Miami Dolphins at the Detroit Lions. So, my goodness, the Dolphins, with their first game back with Tua. Tua is 4-0 starting games this season, which is good. But the Detroit Lions, what an implosion. The first 3 weeks of their season, they were putting up 30 points every game. And we were like, at least the Lions are entertaining. And yet, they were still 1-3 after they scored all those points. Then they got shut out by the Patriots. They lost their bye week. And then they lost again in this week. So I think that the Lions' little couple weeks of excitement is over. Jared Goff was 21 of 26, 228 yards, 2 interceptions, a 71 passer rating. I don't know if there's much to say about the Lions at this point. I think their little era of the Lions being good is over, and they're going to continue to be basement dwellers for the rest of the season, which is a shame. You know, I like the Lions. I root for them, but they just can't have nice things, can they? As for the Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa in his first game back, 21 to 35, 261 yards, 1 touchdown, a 92.7 passer rating. So he did pretty good. It's really strange because like Tua was getting all this crap about not being good enough and all this stuff, but every time he's played, he's made it work. He's led his offense and he's won games for them. So, you know, I think that Tua is the real deal. He may not be maybe as flashy as some of these other quarterbacks, but the bottom line is he gets the job done. And I think that they're going to beat the Lions convincingly. So now we got the 3-4 Arizona Cardinals at the 5-1 Minnesota Vikings. So if there's one team that I think has surprised people more than any other team, well, I guess there's a couple, like maybe the Eagles because they're undefeated, but the Vikings have really showed up with their new head coach. I think this is what everyone has expected the Vikings to be outside of a 500 team. They're 5-1. They've been playing extremely well. And the statistics that I'm going to go over with you kind of shows why. Kirk Cousins was 20 of 30, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, 104 passer rating. Dalvin Cook, 13 carries, 77 yards, and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, 6 receptions, 107 yards. That is why they're 5-1. They have elite weapons on offense that constantly show out and constantly show what they're capable of. And that was the biggest thing that I always noticed about the Vikings, even last season and the season before, is they always put up points. It's just their defense would always let the other team back into the game. That's just not happening this time, though, and it's really starting to show with their 5-1 record. The Cardinals, they won a very impressive Thursday night showing. Kyler Murray was 20 of 29, 204 yards and a touchdown with a 100 passer rating. DeAndre Hopkins, in his first game back, made his presence known. He had 10 receptions for 103 yards. So DeAndre Hopkins is back, which is good. I think that's going to help the Cardinals more than anything. They have DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown. Well, Hollywood Brown's injured. But again, the Cardinals are still a very mid team. They're a team that I think people have higher expectations for because Kyler Murray is such a transcendent talent. But I don't think that he has the leadership ability that a lot of these other quarterbacks have that can get it done in crunch time and stuff like that. Not to say Kyler isn't a bad quarterback. I'd take him over Carson Wentz any day of the week. You know, I am going to go with the Vikings, though. I think the only teams I think threaten the Vikings are teams with elite defenses because the Vikings have an elite offense, right? So I don't think that the Cardinals' defense is going to be able to stop them. I think the Vikings are going to win, and they're going to improve to 6-1. Everyone watch out for the Vikings. They could be something legit. So next up, we got the Las Vegas Raiders at the New Orleans Saints. These are two teams that are very much underperformed this season, especially the Raiders. They did get a good win against Houston last week. They're still trying to dig themselves out of the hole that they've dug themselves. But with some of the production that they had on offense, you know, they might just do it. Derek Carr was 21 of 27 and 241 yards, 1 touchdown, 116 passer rating. Very good game. Devontae Adams, 8 receptions for 95 yards. He's still getting a lot of yards and still getting a lot of production. The real star of the show here, though, was Josh Jacobs. 20 carries, 143 yards, 3 touchdowns. Oh my goodness. That is very, very impressive by Josh Jacobs. It's funny because I drafted him because I saw Josh Jacobs as a late round steal, and I traded him. I can't remember who I traded. I traded him for Tyler Lockett and Antonio Gibson because I had Brian Robinson I was going to handcuff. In my opinion, that was a terrible trade. It's probably why I'm 1-6 in my fantasy league this season, but I digress. It's no big deal. It's always fine. No worries. But the Saints had a tough game on Thursday. Andy Dalton was 30 of 47, 361 yards. He threw 4 touchdowns, but he also threw 3 interceptions. 2 of them were pick sixes, an 89 passer rating. I think as long as the Saints have Andy Dalton, they're not really going to go anywhere. Andy Dalton's a very average quarterback. He's the definition of a backup where he should be playing conservative football. He threw 3 interceptions, but he should be playing, conservative football. He's got a low upside, but his margin for error is also very low. They just haven't really been able to get anything done. So I do think the Raiders are going to win this game, and they're going to continue to inch their way out of that hole that they dug themselves in. I believe, if I can just pull up here what their record says, they are 2-4. So if they win this, they will advance to 3-4, and one step closer to reaching 500, and one step closer to maybe be competitive in the extremely competitive AFC. So I'm going to be going with the Raiders on this one. So next up, we got the New England Patriots at the New York Jets. So the Jets are 5-2. Very, very impressive string of games by the Jets. However, that may come to an end because their star running back, Breece Hall, tore his ACL and is out for the season. He had 4 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown as well. One of them was a really long one. You hate seeing a guy as talented as Breece Hall get injured for the season like this, but the Jets just can't have nice things, I guess. What can I say? It's just, I don't know. They're 3 games ahead of 500, though, so as long as the wheels don't completely fall off, they may have a chance. But Zach Wilson still has not been playing very well. He's 16 of 26 for 121 yards, a 72 passer rating. All during this winning streak, when I've been reading these stats, Zach Wilson still has not played well. He has not put the entire offense on his back and really single-handedly drove them down the field to score and do all this stuff. It's been on the back of, like I said, guys like Breece Hall and the Jets defense. So without Breece Hall, are the Jets still going to be able to deal with it? Against the Patriots, they just might, because the Patriots are struggling with their own little quarterback controversy at the moment. Bailey Zappi was 14 of 22, 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, a 67 passer rating. Matt Jones also played. He was taken out. Bailey Zappi came in, and the quarterback controversy started. Patriots fans were chanting for Bailey. They were chanting for, they were chanting Bailey or Zappi or whatever it was. They came up short in their game against the Bears, obviously. With a Bears offense as mid as the Bears offense, and they gave up 30 points. But God, I don't know, because Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. You'd think he'd be able to right the ship a little bit. At New York, I'm going to go with the Jets on this one. I think they're going to improve to 6-2. I think that any other team, I think, could beat the Jets, but I think the Patriots are in a very weakened state on offense. They had a very bad loss, and I think that the Jets are going to be able to capitalize on a lower tier team right now, or a team on the downturn, to win, to advance to 6-2. I think the Jets have really gotten ahead of themselves here, but I think that even if they do make the playoffs, I don't think they're going to go very far because, like I said, they don't have a strong enough offense to beat some of these elite defenses that they're going to meet in the playoffs. So I am going with the Jets on this one. So next up, we got the Pennsylvania Bowl. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are 6-0. They are the only undefeated team left in the NFL. They are legit as well. They have unbelievable talent at their disposal. Jalen Hurts is finally playing up to his potential. Their defense is opportunistic, making a lot of good turnovers. The only loss on the Vikings record was by the Eagles in prime time, where they just completely slaughtered them, although it was in prime time, so the Kirk Cousins effect was on display there, but they still beat them. And the Steelers they appear to be in a bit of a rebuild. We were talking about that the Steelers haven't had a losing season since 2003. I think that streak is going to be broken, finally. It took them almost 20 years, but I think that it seems as though it's going to happen. I don't think there's much to avoid. They're 2-5. Kenny Pickett was 32 of 44, 257 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Again, another 3 interception game by Kenny Pickett. George Pickens had 6 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. There is some upside with the Steelers, and I think that even if they have a losing season this season, they're going to come back stronger. I don't think that the Steelers are going to be a perennial basement dweller team. I think they're too well run of an organization. They're still struggling with a lot of injuries. We'll see. We'll even see what happens when TJ Watt comes back, because TJ Watt was out for 6 weeks, which means he's getting a lot closer to coming back. And I think that once TJ Watt comes back, he's such a difference maker. It's just absurd. They might start piling up wins because of TJ Watt, or when Kenny Pickett starts settling into the offense a little bit. So I wouldn't necessarily count out the Steelers just yet, because I think they may start to improve as the season goes on. but the more losses they accrue and the farther past, like beneath 500 they get, it's going to get harder and harder for them to have a good enough record to even make the playoffs. And I think that is the situation that they're in now. I do think the Eagles are going to win this one. I think they're going to improve to 7-0. I think the Steelers might make it a tough contest, but I do think the Eagles are eventually going to win. Shock team of this season is the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens when they make the playoffs and see how far they go. So, I'm going to be going with Philadelphia. Next up, guys, we got an AFC South showdown. We got the Tennessee Titans at the Houston Texans. So, Texans, you know, their season's pretty much over. They had a tough fight against the Raiders, which they came up short on. The Tennessee Titans, they beat the Colts 19-10, so a good showing there by the Titans. Ryan Tannehill was 13 of 20 for 132 yards, 83 passer rating. Derrick Henry had 30 carries for 128 yards. So Derrick Henry is back to his form where they give him a lot of volume. You know, they gave him the ball 30 times, but 128 yards is pretty darn good. That's 4.3 yards a carry, which again isn't great, but Derrick Henry's a workhorse back, and you never know which one of those he's going to be able to break and for a significant amount of yardage. So I think Derrick Henry's back to where he needs to be. You know, we were a little worried the first couple weeks and with his injury, but it's a broken bone in your foot. Your bones heal a lot better than ligaments like in your knee and your ankle and stuff like that. So I knew he was going to be okay. This should be a layup game for the Titans, who are still trying to make that playoff push. You know, their record here is they're 4-2. So again, they're above 500. They've quietly done that. It's kind of the same way they were the number 1 seed last season. They win games, but they don't do it in a very impressive way or attention-grabbing kind of way. So no one really realizes that, you know, they're doing well. So they're not going to lose to the Texans, though. I don't think the Texans are another basement-dwelling team. I am going to be going with the Tennessee Titans on this one to improve to 5-2. All right, guys, it's the moment that you've all been waiting for. The helmet's back. It's Commanders time. So the Commanders have won 2 games in a row here. They're 3-4. This game against the Packers, I think, was probably their best showing of the season. And wouldn't you know it, it's with Taylor Heineke. He was 20 of 33, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception for an 85.5 passer rating. He was 1 of 7 to start the game off, though. So after that, after the pick 6, let's see if we can do some quick math here. He was 1 of 7. So then after that, he was 19 of 26. So not too bad. 19 of 26 sounds a lot better than 20 of 33. He got himself in a groove. He hooked up with Terry McLaurin a couple times. He was 5 receptions for 73 yards and a touchdown. Finally get this shout out Terry McLaurin on this show. I think he's a phenomenal talent. Anytime he gets the ball, the play that he makes is an important one. Whether it's a third down where he has to come back onto a throw and catch it, or that long bomb that was just, oh, it was beautiful. It was fantastic. They played well. That game showed us what the Commanders are capable of. They have a very good 2-headed rush attack with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson is really good out wide as a wide receiver as well, like catch the ball. I think Heineke just has more chemistry with the offense compared to Carson Wentz. If you took Carson Wentz's raw talent and put it in Taylor Heineke's body, I think we would have a solid starter. Because I think Heineke is a smart quarterback. I think he makes good decisions. I think he makes good reads. He's mobile in the pocket. The only thing is he lacks the raw physical talent that a lot of other quarterbacks have. And I think that's one of the reasons why he gets underrated as much as he does. He's much more of a normal guy. He's not a physical specimen that 95% of the quarterbacks in the NFL are. You know, like Kyler Murray's short, but he's amazing physical talent in terms of his running ability. Same thing with Justin Fields. Aaron Rodgers has the best arm in NFL history. Tom Brady's 6'4". You know, Taylor Heineke doesn't really have a lot of that. But I think that in terms of his intangibles, he's as good as anybody in the game. And I think that's why he has still had moderate success despite his physical limitations. He has 3 more games to show the Commanders what he can do. I don't know if Carson Wentz is going to be benched for him unless they go 4-0. Unless they win all 4 of their games under Taylor Heineke, that's the only way I would see them keeping him in. but they certainly have a good chance in this game because the Colts have not looked good at all. They've officially benched Matt Ryan. They're going with this other guy. This guy right here. I couldn't remember the name off the top of my head. But Matt Ryan was injured, but they are officially taking him out. For what it's worth, Matt Ryan's last game, potentially ever, as a starter, he was 33 of 44, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, a 76 passer rating. It's really sad how Matt Ryan has gone out. If this is the last team that he's going to start for and his career's over after this, it's kind of sad, honestly. And it's very strange how now we're looking at Aaron Rodgers as well, but it's weird how Tom Brady has outlasted Matt Ryan's entire career like this. He's done this with a lot of people. He completely outlasted Ben Roethlisberger, Philip Rivers, and Eli Manning's careers. But it's weird to see a guy who, got drafted, played his entire career, got old, couldn't do it anymore, and retired, all while Brady has still been playing. And when Matt Ryan got started, Brady was already 3 rings in. I think that just, again, says more about Tom Brady. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers was drafted in 2005, and his first starting season was in 2008, which I think was the same season Matt Ryan was a rookie. So his career appears to be over. What's going to happen in this game, though? I really want the Commanders to win. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they just didn't show up and we lost. But I am still going to go with the Commanders, though. I think that with the game against the Bears, that was just a bad team that we sucked less than. But against the Packers, that was a big confidence-building game where our skill position players did well. So I am going to be going with the Commanders. I think Taylor Heineke is our quarterback, at least for now, until we develop Sam Howell and start him. I don't think we should give up on Sam Howell just yet. I think he's the future, and I think we should give him a chance at some point. But for now, it's Taylor Heineke, and I think the Commanders are going to win. So next up, we got the San Francisco 49ers at the LA Rams. So the Rams are 3-3. They're the 3rd wild card spot in the NFC right now. So if the season were to end today, they would be the number 7 seed. Not very good for the reigning Super Bowl champions. It really seems like they went all in on this season and then on last season, and then they just had nothing left afterwards. So they had their bye, so I don't have any stats for them. The San Francisco 49ers, they played an all right game. They lost to the Chiefs, but then again, you're losing to the Chiefs. That's kind of... You're not going to be scrutinized by me if you lose to the Chiefs, especially if the Chiefs put up 44 points. But for what it's worth, Jimmy G was 25 of 37, 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, a 99.3 passer rating. George Kittle, making his first appearance on the show, 6 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown on National Tight Ends Day, so that must have been great for him. Again, decent production, but when the Chiefs score 44 points against you, there's not much you can do, right? I think that if you looked at this game last season, it would be an easy win for the Rams, but now with how much the Rams have been struggling and how much Matt Stafford in particular has been struggling, I think the 49ers are going to win this one. It is at LA, and it is after a bye, so they've had a lot of time to figure things out. I just don't think the Rams are the team that they were last season. Like I said, I think this is a classic example of a team going all out to win a ring. They won the ring, and now they don't have anything left for the following season. The Super Bowl hangovers have been big for Sean McVay because I don't think they made the playoffs the 2019 season after they... No, that was the 2017 season that they made the Super Bowl. Yeah. And the 2018 season following that, they didn't make the playoffs at all. So I think we have another Super Bowl hangover for the Rams, but you made 2 Super Bowls in 5 years. So, I mean, that's more than anyone in the league can really ask for. So I'm sure Rams fans aren't too bothered by it. But I'm going to be going with the San Francisco 49ers. All right, guys. So next up, we have the 6-1 New York Giants at the Seattle Seahawks. How much longer can the Giants be pretenders like this is what I want to know. Or are they legit? I have no idea. I think I looked at a statistic saying that every single win the Giants have had has been by 1 possession. That is insane. But that shows that they don't give up and they play till the end. And that is a mark of good coaching, for one thing. Daniel Jones was 19 of 30, 202 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for 11 carries, 107 yards and a touchdown. This is the mark of what I was saying about good coaching. I think they're really utilizing Daniel Jones' running ability, because I've been looking at the statistics the last couple weeks, and he's actually been doing a lot of running. So I think that they're maximizing Daniel Jones' strengths. He's having a better season than he's ever had, and he's thriving. But another reason why he's thriving is Saquon Barkley. He had 24 carries for 110 yards. Having a perfectly healthy Saquon Barkley does wonders for the Giants' offense. This is an example of a team that has a very middle-of-the-road offense, but they have a defense that's keeping them in games. And a team that plays until the bitter end in the fourth quarter, you look at a team like the Ravens that fold in the fourth quarter, you have a team like the Giants that don't, they win these games. They win these close games, and that's why they're 6-1. Against the Seahawks, Seahawks have been pretty impressive too. They're not 6-1 like the Giants, but they've definitely exceeded expectations. We expect them to be one of the worst teams in the league. Geno Smith was 20 of 27 at 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 105.5 passer rating. Kenneth Walker, 23 carries, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns. Phenomenal game by Kenneth Walker. It's sad they lost Rashad Penny, but it seems like they found a pretty good replacement. It seems as though they have a pretty good offensive line as well, if you can plug and play running backs like that. Discounting Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, I think Geno Smith is the third best quarterback right now. I think he has the highest passer rating right now, and it is just the twilight zone right now. Draft bust Geno Smith is the starting quarterback for the Seahawks, and he's keeping them in this. With as weak as the NFC is, the Seahawks could make a playoff run, and the Seahawks are a kind of team where they're coached by Pete Carroll. They're a very experienced group in the playoffs. It wouldn't surprise me if the Seahawks made a surprise run and maybe won a playoff game or two. Two's a bit of a stretch, but I do think they have a chance to make it to even the divisional round. In this game, this one's going to be tough. I think this is a situation where the Giants can lose, but they've just been on a roll. But you know what? This is going to be a surprise pick. I'm going to be going with the Seattle Seahawks. I think that they're a phenomenally coached team. I think without Russell Wilson, we've really seen how much of Russell Wilson's success was because of Pete Carroll. I think we're really starting to recognize Pete Carroll as one of the best coaches in the league right now because of what he's been able to do with Geno Smith and the team that he has. And I think that the Giants are going to put up a good fight. I just think their luck's going to run out against the Seahawks, and I think that the Seahawks are going to win. So if you thought the Thursday night game was going to be exciting, this Sunday night game is going to be insane. We have the Green Bay Packers at the Buffalo Bills. The Packers losing against the Commanders was bad. They are 3-4, and it's just going to get worse against the Bills coming off of a bye. We're in panic mode for the Green Bay Packers. But here's the thing. I watched that game, and everyone talking about Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers being washed. I'll say this right now. Tom Brady, I think, is more washed. I think he's been quote-unquote washed for a very long time. I think that he makes good business decisions going to teams that are very good, and, he uses his leadership, his savvy and everything to take advantage of the talent that he has around him. He doesn't have that talent right now, which is why Tom Brady isn't playing well. Like I said, it was the same thing like the 2019 Patriots. Very similar situation happened. For Aaron Rodgers, I don't think it's the case. I think Aaron Rodgers is still as good as he ever was. For example, he was 23 of 35, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 99 passer rating. So he didn't have a bad game. And he made some really, really impressive throws as well. The touchdown pass to Aaron Jones was phenomenal. I think from a talent standpoint, Aaron Rodgers is 100% still there. I think that he doesn't have the team around him, much like Tampa Bay. There were a lot of guys who missed catches. There was the 4th down that they tried to convert, that the one receiver, he lost control of the ball. He had caught it ahead of the sticks, but he lost control of the ball. That's not on Aaron Rodgers. Receivers dropping balls, that's not Aaron Rodgers' fault either. Physically, he's still there. I think if Aaron Rodgers was on a better team, like if he was playing for the 49ers would be 6-1. They'd be a top team. So I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the problem. Well, maybe he is because he's taking up so much cap space. But against the Bills, these are the stats from when the Chiefs beat the Bills week 6. Josh Allen was 27 of 40, 329 yards, 3 touchdowns, 117 passer rating. Stephon Diggs, 10 receptions, 148 yards, and 1 touchdown. The Bills are a juggernaut. They are the top team in the league. I think that if they're going to make a Super Bowl any other year, like, this is their time. This is the Bills' time. If they don't make a Super Bowl, this season is going to be a disappointment for them. God, if it ends up being Bills versus Eagles in the Super Bowl, that would be amazing. What an amazing Super Bowl that would be. But, man, what's going to happen in this game? The Packers need to win this game. They are going to drop to 3-5, and then it becomes panic mode for the Packers. They will have lost 4 games in a row, and it's going to be like they need to stop that slide, because Packers are a team that's used to winning, and if they don't do well, then changes may have to be made. As for the Bills, they're the best team in the league. Like, you can never really count on Aaron Rodgers, and if the Packers upset the Bills, I won't be surprised. But with the way the Packers have been playing, I don't think that it's going to happen, and I'm going to be going with the Bills. All right, guys, last but certainly not least, we have Monday night. We got the Ohio Bowl. We got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns. So another day, another week without Deshaun Watson, but that is inching ever so closer for the Browns. They just got to handle it a little bit longer. They lost a very close game to the Ravens. Jacoby Brissett was 22 of 27, 258 yards, 53 passer rating. Nick Chubb back at it again. 16 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Another good game by Nick Chubb. They are going to be facing a Bengals team coming off one of the most impressive showings of the entire year. Listen to this. Joe Burrow was 34 of 42, 481 yards, 3 touchdowns, 138 passer rating. Jamar Chase, 8 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyler Boyd, 8 receptions, 155 yards, 1 touchdown. Bengals are on fire with their offense. And you didn't even see T. Higgins. We were talking about T. Higgins being a number 1 option behind Jamar Chase. Now Tyler Boyd is showing his stripes, no pun intended, by the Bengals. And he's proving to be an amazing option as well. Joe Burrow is really establishing himself as a top 5 quarterback right now. I was watching someone on YouTube saying that, the debate was always Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen. And then after that, it was Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is inching further and further away from Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert has some good statistics, but he still has a record of 500 for his career. And Joe Burrow is really just on fire, especially with a game like this. So against the Browns, you never know in a divisional matchup like this. The Browns do have a good defense, but I am going to be going with the Bengals on this one. I think that they're really reaching their stride here, and they are going to advance, and they're going to take control of the AFC North. The only team that's really going to threaten them there is the Ravens, which, if they win on Thursday, then they may, but Bengals are owning it. So those are my predictions. We got a very exciting week of football. A lot of different storylines. A lot of these older quarterbacks starting to die out again, and the passing of the torch to the younger generation that we've seen in the last couple of years is really starting to take ahead. With the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomeses, the Joe Burrows, the Justin Herberts and Lamar Jacksons. They are taking over from the Matt Ryans and the Tom Bradys and the Aaron Rodgers, and that was already starting to happen last season, but it's just happening more and more. So those are my predictions. Hopefully the Commanders get a win and they improve to 500. If they don't, it won't surprise me. But those are my reviews. I will see you all next week. Take care.